The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana decides to maintain the prime rate at 18%.
The committee is of the view that the impulses from the recent monetary policy hike are still working through the system and therefore decided to maintain the policy rate at 18%.
The MPC of the Central Bank also decided to raise the cash reserve requirement of banks from 9 to 11%, and it also reduced the net open position of banks from 10 to 5%.
To address the liquidity overhang which was observed by the committee and improve supply of foreign exchange in the market, the cash reserve requirement of banks has been revised upwards to 11% from 9%. While the net open positions limits of banks have been revised downwards. The single currency NOP, that's the net open position, has been reduced from 10% to 5%, and the aggregate NOP has been reduced from 20% to 10%. The time frame for implementation will be communicated to the banks at the later.
Well, these come on the heels of Finance Minister Seth Terkper reiterating that a number of measures being implemented by government to improve the economy may take more than a year for benefits to be felt. So what does the new policy, especially raising cash reserve requirement of banks from 9 to 11%, mean to interbank lending, your existing loans and new loans? This is today's big story. Well, my name is Stephen Anti. The Monetary Policy Committee said the impacts from the recent monetary policies are still working through the systems, and so it has decided to maintain the prime rate 18%. In February, the MPC announced a 200 BPS points hike in prime rate designed to halt the slide in the Ghana cedi.
Gross international reserves as at March 28, 2014, was estimated at $4.7 billion compared with $5.6 billion at the end of 2013, representing 2.6 months of import cover. The balances on the fiscal and external sectors, the imbalances in the fiscal and external sectors, together with continued uncertainties in the external economic environment, exerted significant pressure on the domestic currency in the first quarter. The local currency therefore depreciated by 17.6% against the US dollar during the first quarter of 2014, compared with 1.1% depreciation in the corresponding period of 2013. This is on the interbank market. The increase in the policy rate and the recent foreign exchange measures introduced in February have to some extent slowed down the pace of depreciation. However, vulnerabilities still remain. The strict adherence to the 2014 budgetary estimates is critical for macroeconomic stability. Reining in the deficit should therefore be a priority, as this will not only create space for development spending, but also reduce borrowing and the pressure on interest rates. This will also help boost international confidence in the economy, encourage capital inflows, and facilitate donor disbursements.
Well, this is today's big story, and we have on Skype Head of Research at Goldcrest Fund Management, and then we also have on telephone John Gachi, who is a chartered economist. So we'll be having interaction with these gentlemen. So let me start with John Gachi, if you're on. If you can hear me, welcome to today's big story.
Thank you.
Now, when we spoke to you on Newsday, Tuesday, you said it will be good for the central bank to maintain the prime rate. Your prediction came through. What's your reaction to it?
Well, I only feel that the central bank is up to its job. It's actually taking into consideration the fact that when policies are being implemented, they have to be monitored before decisions are taken. So I think it's a good development today that the Monetary Policy Committee maintains the policy rate.
Right. So maintaining the policy rate, what are the implications?
Well, it will not have any serious implication in terms of borrowing and lending. It will not have any serious implication in terms of access to credit by the key stakeholders in the financial market. I'm referring to our indigenous businesses, SMEs, in the country. But it tends to bring about some stability in expectation for key macroeconomic indicators like interest rates. So at least the expectation for any discussion is actually being controlled by this announcement. I think that is the major implication for the economy of Ghana.
So yesterday when we spoke to you, can you tell us exactly what informed your prediction that you're expecting the central bank to maintain the prime rate?
Well, when you are managing an economy, you must also manage information surrounding policies that you are implementing. My understanding is that when you implement policies, there is a pass-through effect. We know that some policy with respect to controlling subsidies were put in place. That resulted in increase in petroleum prices and then brought about upward adjustment in the tariffs in the country. We also saw increase in transport fares across the country. I think by the time that the Bank of Ghana was considering the review in February, at the last meeting, they considered those things in their announcement. So I thought that the negative effect of all those have been captured in the earlier announcement. Right. Therefore, if we are going to make any upward adjustments, then that should be new development that must be monitored over a certain period of time, which he rightly indicated that they need to continue to monitor those new dimensions before a new decision to be taken. I think that was what I was explaining.
Right. Now, the governor himself, in making this announcement, said that the committee noted that inflation pressures have heightened, driven by periodic increases in fuel and utility prices, currency depreciation, and supply-demand gaps in the general economy. What does this statement really mean on the average? Does it look like the economy is bad? For which reason the central bank is deciding to keep the prime rate at 18?
No, that is not the case. I think my understanding is that the central bank do understand that the entire economy and even our daily life, which is part of the economy, is very sensitive to adjustment in petroleum prices in the country. And as a result of that, when the adjustment is frequent, so frequent, it actually gives negative implication, negative expectation, and complaints by those people who are affected usually by this frequent adjustment.
Right.
So I think that even though the automatic adjustment is good for petroleum products in the country, I think the frequency is disturbing the expectation of many people in the economy. So in order to give some kind of predictability by consumers, individual consumers, households, businesses who consume petroleum products, it will be prudent this time to limit the negative expectation in the economy by considering the review process on a quarterly basis, so that these noises that have been sent into the system by the frequent adjustment can be abated, and that the economy can be controlled on the basis of positive information. I think that is my understanding from where they are coming from. Right. Because that actually has a serious input into inflation build up. So if that information aspect can be managed, then there will be some level of control for inflation in the country.
Right.
Because inflation will be one of the issues that will be determining the future upward review in the policy rate.
Okay. John, I'll have you hold, but I'll be grateful if you could reduce the volume on your set a bit. So when we come to you again, we'll have less feedback. Now, we're joined on the telephone by Samuel Ampa, who is head of research at Gold Coast Fund Management. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us on today's big story.
Yes, good evening.
We apologize. Our Skype connectivity wasn't very good, so we decided to go on phone. Now, let me ask you, cash reserve requirement of banks. The central bank is deciding to review this from 9 to 11%. What does this mean to the layman?
It's unfortunate I can't hear the question very well. I have some interferences on the telephone.
Right. Let me ask the question again. I'm saying that the central bank has said that it is raising the cash reserve requirement from 9 to 11%. I'm asking, what exactly does this mean to the ordinary man on the street? Right. I think we're having challenges getting Samuel Ampa on the telephone. We still have John Gachi, though, and I might as well put the same question to you, John. So I was asking Samuel Ampa early, simple question, that the central bank is deciding to review the cash reserve requirement from 9 to 11%. What does this mean to the layman?
Well, it means two important things from my perspective. That the central bank is trying to have more control over the cash position in the commercial bank by allowing them to keep more with them. So by so doing, more control is being undertaken by the central bank. But that can also have some liquidity challenge for the commercial bank. And that may dovetail into the ability of the...
when you say liquidity challenges, what exactly are you referring to?
Yeah, assuming that your cash position is 10, and by the new rule, you are going to, do away, let's say 2. So you're left with 8. So you only have 8 to do your normal lending activities. So that is the liquidity situation I'm talking about. So that can be the negative side of the policy. But on the other hand, the central bank, in a way, is trying to control supply of money into the system. That is from the central bank point of view. And all these things are being done bearing in mind that you are dealing with multiple challenges within the economy.
Right.
Issues of inflation, issues of exchange rate volatility. So you can't do one and leave one. You need to do all concurrently in order to deal with the situation. But in so doing, definitely some people will be harmed somehow when the policy is rolled out.
Right, John. I still have you hold. I'm joined back on the line by Samuel Ampa, head of research at Gold Coast Fund Management. So, Samuel, before we lost you, I was asking the same question I put to John Gachi. Now, let me ask you another question. In the first quarter of 2014, the cedi depreciated up to about 17.6%. That's according to the central bank. Is this good? I mean, considering this is only in the first quarter. The first quarter depreciation is 17.6%. Is this good?
No, certainly it's not good. I mean, no economy will enjoy it, especially the stakeholders in the economy. The business sector of the economy will not enjoy it if your currency or the currency of the economy depreciates even by 5% or 1%. Because what happens is that it rather, depletes the capital base of businesses in this country. Businesses will suffer. I mean, the general economy is suffering in terms of high rates, in terms of inflation, because the increase in the depreciation of is happening. So that is one of the key things. It's not at a pleasant situation that we find ourselves as the economy with a high rate of depreciation of our currency again.
Right. I mean, so seeing this currency depreciation and volatility, however the terms you use for it, Do you think that the measures being implemented now by the central bank, including maintaining the prime rate at 18% and the various measures that have been put in place to check the CD, are these the right measures?
Let me say this, that the central bank maintaining the prime rate at 18% doesn't change anything. I mean, let's ask yourself that when has the Bank of Ghana or the central bank maintained or changed the prime rate? When have we felt it? We don't feel the thing. Rather, it is the interest rate that we feel. I mean, it's all that the benchmark. That's where banks borrow from, So, and that's where the government of Ghana also borrows from, So, what the problem basically is not the primary rate is being maintained. What we should look out for is the interest rate that is going up. Beginning of the year, interest rate as on the 91-day bill was about 19.2%. Today, the interest rate is about 23%. Okay, and that is the 91-day bill. The 182 bill had gone up from 18.7% to 21.2%, and it continues with the 1 year that has gone up from 17 to 22 and 6.8 for the 2-year bond bill to about 23%. What's happening? When it happens like that, the banks will not lend to the private sector because government now becomes a better borrower. A lot of people will want to go to buy the treasury bill. It retards the progress of development of this country. And that's the issue that we should talk about, not the prime rate which has been maintained. Yes, it's that about inflation rate. And indeed, currently, if you look at the petroleum prices that have gone up by 7%, what is its implication? The implications are that inflation will go up. I mean, what we do the inflation targeting economy. Currently the situation as we have it, it's not a funny one.
It's not a funny one. I can imagine.
Not a funny situation at all.
And so you don't see what I needed to get to the bottom of was that, I mean, if the Bank of Ghana decided today to make an announcement of maintaining the prime rate, it surely was expecting or is expecting that will make a significant contribution to stabilizing the currency situation. And so if you say nothing changes, it's like they did nothing.
Nothing, my brother. I really think that, we should spend a lot of time talking about its effect on business. We are looking at the prime rate being the benchmark for commercial banks. Whatever happens at the prime rate level, I mean, the Bank of Ghana will have to relate that to the commercial bank lending. But what happens in that aspect? We've been in this country where prime rate has been reduced to a very appreciable minimum level. What happens to lending rates by banks? It never changed.
It never changed.
So high. Now what is even disturbing is the fact of the interest rate. And that is a critical thing that we should look at. Inflation is around 14%, okay? Interest rate is around 23%. Rate of depreciation is around 17%. If anybody is doing anything, anybody is doing investment at a loss. Your real return is a loss.
Right. Samuel, I'm afraid we have a bit of a terrible line from your end. So we'll switch to John Gachi. John, if you're listening, we'll later come back to Samuel to continue our discussion with him. But John, Samuel is saying that maintaining the base rate at 18% really is no work done. The central bank hasn't effected any changes by doing that. Do you share his views?
If you look at it from the point of view of lending rate, you will understand that, as I said earlier on, it has no positive implication. You see, but when you are managing the economy, there is what we call signaling effect of policies. Right. Maintaining the policy rate has sent a certain signal to the entire investment environment, the financial market.
Right.
Market, and that is very, very positive. So it actually affects people's decision making. It affects decision making by investors. It affects decision making by people who bring their capital even to the commercial bank. So it has, it has a far-reaching effect from signaling effect.
And will it have any effect on interest rates? I mean, because like someone was saying, interest rates still remain high, really. So that is a key issue that we should be addressing rather than prime rate, which is the borrowing rate between banks, really.
That is right, but I see you must look at this analysis from two perspectives. In Ghana, over a long period of time, when the prime rate goes up, we do not see corresponding reduction in the lending rate. But when it does goes up, you will see that these things go up. So it is very positive that it doesn't go up. Because if it were to go up, you are giving tools into the hands of commercial banks and other lenders to prepare to increase their lending rate somehow, or to put some encumbrances on the way of especially SMEs in the country. But now, with the maintaining the policy rate, that too has not been delivered into the hands of lenders. So from that perspective, it sends a good signal and it is good for the economy. But if you want to see the actual effect on lending rate today, it has no actual effect in terms of downward trend in lending rate. So it is a positive, development that the policy rate is maintained. We need to appreciate that.
Now, the central bank governor maintained that the risk to inflation still remains high. Where do we stand? If these risks are still high, base rate has been maintained, interest rates are high, inflation at the close of the first quarter is 17.6. There's too much pressure on everybody, isn't it?
That is true. We are all experiencing the difficulty of the economy. But I think we need to understand what the central bank governor is saying. The central bank governor is saying that, look, we are dealing with inflation targeting, and some of the components that will empower the central bank governor to increase the policy rate or to reduce policy rate, which have a huge signal into the market, is inflation. Where he stands, he could see that the things which are causing inflation are still available with us. They've not gone down significantly. He mentioned some of them. The frequent adjustment in petroleum price. He mentioned that it's a significant cause of inflation in the country. And he also mentioned that volatility to exchange rate is still available with us. That is also, building up into inflation. So long as those things remain, he doesn't have, the technical mandate to reduce the policy rate. That is exactly what he's telling us. I see that the management of the economy is two sides. One, the price stability has been given to the central bank. The fundamental issues of the economy is in the hands of the executive, is in the hands of the finance minister. The central bank governor cannot do that for the finance minister. So he's only talking about the aspect that he has control over. The rest of the things that we are talking about, those policies, etc., that he mentioned, he was not the one who brought them to being. So we need to understand it from that perspective.
I see. So let me ask you a critical question. I mean, there being suggestions here and there on how to resolve the challenging situation that is facing Ghana's economy. If you were a manager of our economy, what will be your prescription? Where will you start resolving these challenges from?
I think there is no one solution to the problems we are facing. The ones that can be solved from monetary policy point of view should be ongoing, and the one that could be solved from the fiscal policy point of view should also be ongoing.
So exactly what would you target?
I would target three main things. Number one, I would target issues of how to expand revenue mobilization quickly, because that is the anchor to both monetary policy and other policies that we implement in the country. In fact, the anchor to the level of debt that you acquire is revenue mobilization. So that is what I will be focusing on strictly at this point in time. Then I will also ensure that if I say I want to cut down expenditure, it will be very clear, it will be visible, it will be something that everybody can feel that we are really reducing expenditure from the executive point of view. When you do that, then you add up the monetary issues that the central bank is doing, you are likely to quicken the pace of resolving the issue. That is the approach that I will adopt.
Right. So, John, quickly, I'll go to Samuel and see if his line is better, so we'll wrap up with him. So, Samuel, let me ask you, key issues. You said that maintaining the base rate at 18% is really nothing. If you were in the shoes of the governor of the Bank of Ghana, what would you do?
The Bank of Ghana is in a very tight position at the moment. because, like John said, the fiscal prudent management of our finances lies in the ministry and then the executive. I mean, the executive should be able to ensure that our revenues, our targets are met, our projections in terms of our expenditures are met. So the Bank of Ghana basically handles the monetary policy aspect. That is clear. I believe that as a Bank of Ghana, the Governor Bank of Ghana, basically what I will perhaps encourage government in ensuring financial fiscal management practices, because that is one of the key things that is worrying us, and then encourage them to increase the level of revenue collection, in the sense that, look, we are in a country of about 24 million. 6 million are eligible to pay taxes, but unfortunately about 2 million people are the active taxpayers in this country. So we need to widen up. We need to open up for a lot more people, the 6 million people at least. We should have 80%.
I guess it's fair to say that we need to be innovative about it before we squeeze people out of their small earnings.
Yes, it is true, but that is the situation that we find ourselves. This country can only be able to be financially free when we have enough revenue, and that is the only way we can do taxation. But you need to be able to tax the people that really are making the income. Now there are a lot of people that are not making the money, that are bearing the tax burden. That is also a problem.
Right.
I believe that Mr. Gachi has said three key things that also will be on the heart of every economic person or financial person. Key is the revenue mobilization, and then check your expenditure. And the expenditure, like you said, should be transparent, and then the monetary policy aspect should be able to help, in shoring up the values that we might be churning up.
Right.
These are the key things that we should be doing.
Right. Thank you very much, Samuel Ampa, Head of Research, Gold Coast Fund Management, and John Gachi is a chartered economist. We're grateful that you could make time with us on today's Big Story. We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll get interactive. Welcome back to Interactive segment. Marian Turi is here. Marian, I didn't tell you that I watched your story on fish.
Jamestown
Beach. It was a brilliant story, actually.
Thank
want
you.
to commend you.
Thank you.
That you're not only good elsewhere, you're good at other places.
No, it was actually difficult doing an entire story in vernacular.
In Ghana.
In the local dialect.
In the language you don't work with.
Exactly. And so the entire story was on translation, and I was in a dilemma, either to do a voiceover or to let the lady speak in her original language and then just do a translation. But in the end, I think the translation actually worked better.
So what do you have for us? What's trending?
10,000 public schools have no toilet facilities.
Ooh, okay. Right, I will say more.
What, it's too gooey for you?
Ooh, I don't want to say anything about that, People go to school to study, so if there are no toilets, that's another thing.
Exactly, so it means that you would have to go home to use, it's very sad.
Let's hear what you have.
But that's what's trending, so we're talking about it. Welcome to JN Interactive within today's big story. My name, as always, is Marian Turi. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, but before we start, I'd like to announce all the social media tools that you need to get in touch with the show. You would find us on facebook.com/joynewsontv. Like our page, we have so many posts there, comment on them, and we will amplify your voice by sharing them with the rest of the world. You'll find us on Twitter. We tweet at joynewsontv. I am on Twitter too, and I tweet at MNToure, and the hashtag to follow when you're sending in your tweets, so I'll be able to sort them all and take them at once, will be JNInteractiveGH. Hashtag JNInteractiveGH. Joy News, I am at multitvworld.com will be our email address, and 0260 518-801. That's our WhatsApp number. It is the old one, the new one, we're still working on it. It is up. If you're on social media, we've already promoted it, and we're working on the dynamics so that we'll use that from here in on, and your WhatsApps will go live very, very soon. And as we say here on GN Interactive, this is where technology meets the news to set the agenda. So in our agenda setting role today, we are looking at a story which actually featured on the graphic website, and I'm hoping that it would show up for you to actually get a look at it whilst I walk you through it. And it says that 10,000 schools are without toilet facilities, and that is what we're talking about. It is something very, very basic. Toilet facilities. You know, Ghana is a land where toilet facilities are actually a luxury. Something that we should all have is a luxury. The situation is so bad that AMA has, warned landlords to build toilet facilities or face court action, and nothing has really come out of it. I remember somewhere last year, Kovandapoy and his people actually saying that I think they had a ratio that each house should have a toilet based on the number of people who were there. So I think it was about 4-to-1 or something. So if you have more than 4 people, you have to have about 2 toilet facilities or more. But nothing has happened. It's the same old story, and you haven't heard enough yet. The biggest deal is now that 10,000 public schools in Ghana are without toilet facilities, and you actually heard me right. And that was a story that you just saw on the Daily Graphic website, and it was made known in a national minimum standard and implementation model for water and sanitation hygiene in schools, report in the country. And we're asking today, how can we build schools and forget to actually add toilet facilities? It's really terrible. It's terrible. It's a bad issue. But I have a video for you. I want you to actually look at this piece. Take a look at it. It's very short. When we come back, we will delve into the issue. And I have some people actually standing by. One advocates for toilets and the other advocates for child's rights. Please, enjoy this.
How long shall you carry that burden on your shoulders? Yeah. How long shall those tears keep rolling down your beautiful face? Oh, yeah.
Well, so yeah, that was what it is. That actually people going to queue to use the toilet, and they have to use something as hard as newspaper, to actually clean the area when they're done. How uncomfortable that will be indeed. But that is a sad situation, and it is real. It is the situation on the ground as it is right now. And the report, further states that sometimes girls even fail to attend school when they are menstruating. How bad can that be? Well, I wouldn't go to that school if I were a girl, because I would need some comfort. And if you can't provide me with that comfort, then perhaps I'll stay at home and have my mother lash me and take me back. But if you remember, sometime last year, I spoke to a lady. Her name is Sherry Thompson, and she would like for us to call her Mama Lou. And she's an advocate, and she was championing the cause to build toilets for schools. And there was a competition which all the toilets entered into to find the best toilets. But unfortunately, we weren't able to go and cover it. Today, she's my resource person on the line, and I'd like, to pick her brain on the issue. Hello, Mama Lou.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fabulous. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Can you imagine? I'm so sorry we couldn't make it.
I'm sorry too, but the story is amazing, and it's something that we've known for a while.
Yeah.
I'm glad you've picked it up, and actually the Daily Graphic has picked it up. It's good.
But how was the old project? How did it do?
The LECMA projects are finished. They were the 2 schools,
right.
North LECMA and South LECMA, and we put in facilities for 9,000 young people. Now, the next project that I would look at is the Nungwa cluster of schools. You have 6,000 kids, 16 schools on the cluster, and no toilet facility.
Right.
And so when you look at this school survey that was conducted that said 10,000 public schools in Ghana don't have toilets, then we're right on point.
Yeah.
It's
So I was
obvious
actually
that-
going to ask you whether that actually is shocking to you.
No, it's not shocking. We've known it for a while.
Right.
And so what needs to happen now is basically they need to go back and install toilets in all these school facilities.
Right.
What really shocked me about this article was a statement that said that until about 5 years ago, there was no policy on ensuring that toilet facilities were provided when school blocks were built.
Right.
Now, my question on that is, why do we need a policy on that? It's obvious that when you have a school, you must have a place where children can go and use a toilet so that they can hygienically evacuate.
Right.
Where teachers can also go and use a toilet, you know, because how does a teacher teach if he or she has got to go to the toilet and they can't access one? What do they do?
Right. So I'm actually hoping that after the first one, the LECMA, the first one that you did, has anybody within government actually approached to lend a hand?
Well, these were done with donor funds from USAID and from the Coca-Cola Foundation,
Right.
which is the RAIN Foundation. And of course, you know, they were there to launch the 2 facilities. Everybody saw that the work was done. But it's mostly donor agencies that have been putting in sanitation facilities.
Right.
Under UNICEF, under World Vision, under Ghana Wash Project. It's amazing to see how many donors have been actually tasked and to do that. And they've been doing a good job. But again, is that all that is supposed to be done? No. If you have a survey of 10,000 public schools, then you ask yourself, what contractor building a school block builds a block without putting a toilet in? And I've asked contractors this, and they say, well, if they don't mention it or if they don't say we're supposed to build it, we can't do that. They're the client, that's government. And if they don't tell us we're supposed to build that, we don't want to say anything because the contract will go to somebody else. So the mentality
Right.
is amazing here.
So
It's
then,
like,
please.
you know, don't ask, don't tell.
Right. That's a different policy in the U.S., right?
Amen. You know.
But then, have you engaged government? I'd like to know. You're doing something to help Ghanaians. Have you approached them to ask for help and they haven't done anything about it?
I personally work with agencies that are actually doing something. And of course, yes, I've approached, you know, certain agencies that are more connected to the government than not. And they do their work too. But in the whole scheme of things, everybody has their place and their space. And I literally choose to work with people that are putting solutions in right now. For example, there's a group in Kumasi called Clean Team Toilet, an amazing project. And they're putting in household latrines within households, and certainly this can scale up to schools when they decide to do that. But these are people that are actively implementing, and my tendency is to be with the implementers. I don't sit with policymakers so much because, frankly, the talk is we don't need to talk anymore. We've talked already. We need to put it into action. We need to implement.
Right.
So I tend to hang out with the implementers.
Okay, so I guess I would wish you all the best in your next project and hoping that at least we'll get ample notice to come and support you once everything is done.
Very good. You will.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
And that was Sherry Thompson. She wants to be called Mama Lou because she's doing everything she can to bring toilet facilities to schools and We commend her for that. We will also do our utmost to help with that. I'll take some comments that have been dropping in on social media right now. And we posted, that 10,000 public schools in Ghana are without toilets. What does this say about us as Ghanaians? And I'll take a few comments before we'll go and take our video blog, because Sarah has been out there to solicit your views on it. Asari Bafo says it shows the leaders we have as a nation. Oh, wow. But what, they don't care? Well, perhaps, because I think in our interview, Mama Lou was actually even saying that she's actually spoken to a few, but nothing has come out of it. Emmanuel Debote J. Boatin says, ha ha ha, so poor to hear this about Ghana in these ages. Donama says some leaders, Ghana. Abena says very, very bad. Even just behind NDC party offices, the cluster of schools there, 2 primary and 2 JHS plus KG, they don't have toilet. That is terrible. Joshua says, but this is normal in Ghana. I mean, a country that increases petrol prices every month in a higher percentage and decreases it in a lower percentage. So it's normal, not anything new. And I'll move on from there. Prince says, oh, it's not a new development at all. The castle toilet itself is not functioning. Not even talk about secondary schools. Emmanuel Tete, please give us examples of schools without toilets, because the one you attended has a toilet. Okay. The research is saying 10,000 are without toilets, and I don't believe that they would be lying there, because what we've actually heard from, Mama Lou goes to buttress that point. Crystal Bell says, yeah, that is Ghana for you. Some have it, but it's only used by the teachers. Wow. I think I'll pause here, and then we'll take our video blog, our next blog for today, and when we come back, we'll continue with some of the comments. Sarah has been out there, on the other side to solicit your views about, what you think is happening. What does this say about us as Ghanaians, that we would have schools, 10,000 of them, and would have nowhere for children to actually evacuate whatever they put inside of them? Let's take our video blog.
10,000 public schools in Ghana are without toilet facilities. What does this say about us Ghanaians?
During the past, in high schools and all, we used to have sanitation prefects and other things, but now, recently, it's not in existence. The only people who can help the students is the SRC.
Ghana is a well-known country in the world, and unfortunately, I'm hearing that 10,000 schools do not have toilet facilities. It's so appalling. What would our neighbors or our neighboring countries will be suggesting if they hear this news? So it's not that good.
This has been going on for a very long time, because when I was in a secondary school, we used to have this problem. And even recently, when I completed, I even heard this recently that at the school, even students find it difficult to eat themselves.
Some of the students can come to the school and they may get a running stomach. So if there is no such a facility on the campus, anything can just happen. So I think they should do something about it.
It's very bad to have a school without toilet facilities, because you cannot learn in an environment whereby you don't have a good hygienic area or a good conducive system for learning. Because someone has to ease or heal himself, the person has to go far or go to public toilets, and sometimes there is a queue and stuff. So we really need a good conducive environment to help studies go on.
Okay, we'll continue with some more comments, and I'm hoping that I'll have another resource person on the line. His name is Bright Apea, to speak to him and also, pick his brain on that. He is a child rights advocate, to tell us what he thinks about all of this, especially from a child's perspective. Comments that have been dropping in. Also, Nuruddin says this is really serious. The number is so great. It doesn't speak well of us as Ghanaians. Philip Ajuman says this is incredible. And what does this got to do with Ghana? Well, it is happening in Ghana. It's not about Ghana. It's the school's owners. Really? Are you serious? Well, no, I don't agree with you on that one. I believe it has a lot to say about us as a people, that if we've actually elected leaders to lead us and the decisions they are taking, doesn't say anything good about us. Whatever they do reflects on us in one way or the other. They would put plans in place to build schools, but not to add places of convenience. It's a Ghanaian issue, my friend. It is. And Nafo says, meaning we are still in 19th century when we have a country being manipulated by greedy politicians who don't care what happens to the poor man at Plamankong. Really? Okay. Frederick says, embrace everything that comes your way as a lesson and come out victorious. Don't let anything bring you down. Life is a beautiful gift that needs to be enjoyed to the fullest. No matter what you go through in your life, don't let anything make you better about anybody or any situation. Everything happens for a reason. Let's pray hard about that. Really? I can't believe this. Embrace that. Embrace that we don't have toilet facilities and pray about it. No. We have to do something about it. Government has to find better contractors who are willing to do the job, the right job for Ghanaians, not pray about this one. As for this one, even if you pray, God won't bring a spiritual toilet facility to the school. You have to build it yourself. Andre Nate, the district assemblies must account for that. Philippa Jiman, how can you build a school without toilets in it? Afe Lete Benjamin, is this a joke? No, it's not a joke. Jerry Tete, total corruption. Rashid says this is a human rights violation, an insult to the basic hygiene practice. The number is alarming and it needs urgent attention. I also believe the schools should be closed down until the problem is solved. Amin Wahab Romeo, this is a very serious situation. If in schools where children are expected to learn personal hygiene and the other health stuff is lacking common health structure like a toilet in this 21st century, then it is clear where we are heading as a country. Ghana Abrewai, oh, what a shame. It's rather unfortunate we couldn't get other resource person on the line. Bright couldn't answer his phone, so this is where we end it for today. Stephen Ati is standing by so that we can end the show together. And thank you so much for all your comments that have come in. As always, I tell you, this show is for you, by you, and about you. So thank you so much for getting in touch with us.
Hey,
sup?
What's up? A day for you.
I know you day for me.
A day like I know day. Now, for News at 8, stories you should expect. The Accra Region Police arrested 18 robbery suspects in the first 3 months of 2014 compared to the 81 arrests that were made over the same period last year. So the figures, according to the police, suggest a sharp decline in crime in Accra. So we will be speaking to DCOP Christian Tete Yohono.
And also to expect in News at 8, with Israel lying, individuals and businesses are being advised to insist on warranty guarantees and also try and authenticate the products they buy to ensure they don't fall victim to pirated items which do not come from the original manufacturer.
Right. And also, immediately after we leave here, Marian, Joy News Exclusive comes on.
Right.
And I'll tell you, we have a story on the Songo Salt Project. For the past 28 years, they've never had a permanent board. So that should tell you the extent of challenges that the salt exploration in that part of the country faces. So we have all that packaged in Joy News Exclusive.
And if we're able to actually, build on that, we could actually export salt.
I know.
Exactly.
I know, it's a booming business. White gold, maybe.
Can you imagine?
Right. My name is Stephen Ante. We're grateful that you could make time with us on today's Big Story and the interactive segment.
Yes, and my name is Marian Toure. Thank you so much. Have a fabulous evening. We shall see you again soon. Enjoy the rest of our programs.
Good evening.
Good evening.